It is 9 o'clock, Wednesday, September 9th, and I'm going to call this special meeting of Humboldt County Board of Commissioners to order. Do a roll call. Commissioner Bell.
Can you hear me? I'm here.
Yeah, I can. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bridgeton. Marlene.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Sorry. Here.
Commissioner Cherry.
Here.
Commissioner French.
I'm here.
Okay, and I as well. So we'll go to the Pledge of Allegiance now. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on our agenda will be public comment. Do we have any public comment this morning? If we do, please *6 is to unmute your phone. And we'll take that public comment now. Please identify yourself for the record. Any public comment? Hearing no public comment, we'll move to item 4. Consideration, discussion, and possible action regarding entering into the memo of understanding between the Bureau of Land Management and Humboldt County, a subsidiary of the state of Nevada, to participate as a cooperating agency as part of the BLM's preparation of an environmental impact statement, evaluating amendments to the federal livestock grazing regulations, discussion and possible action. And I'll go, if I may, I'll go to Commissioner Cherry, in case the one that caught this, that we needed to go with it.
Yeah. Okay. Jim, you know, it's been a while. I think, did we talk about this?
Yeah, we did.
And I don't know, for whatever reason back then, I think we decided it maybe wasn't necessary. But in, you know, considering like what we went through yesterday in regards to being cooperating agencies, I think it's important now that we be in 95% of the cases, we ask to be for cooperative status with BLM on any kind of proposals or projects that they're proposing. Therefore, I know all the other northern counties here with grazing, where grazing is a important part of their economy, have asked to be. And so now I believe that it's important that we be in that process, be part of that process as well. And I don't know, I'd like to hear what Jim thinks, but because we did talk about it earlier, and I for whatever reason, we decided that maybe it wasn't something we needed to do, but I've reevaluated that, and I really think we do. I'm going to be representing the Central Committee of the Nevada State Grazing Boards in that process. But I think that, you know, the commission here needs to be part of that as well.
Ron, this is Jim French. For the record, I don't disagree with your change of heart on it. You know, if you think back when we had it, when this was first being proposed, it kind of caught us by surprise. I told you that we were engaging on the Public Land Steering Committee side of it from NACO, and we still are. But I think the strategy right now, I think, is that we need to be at the table in case the worst case scenario happens. And I believe that cooperating agency status for Humboldt County would have necessarily required us to provide input to BLM unique to Humboldt County. But I think it certainly is for us to have cooperating agency status at the beginning of this. It gives us standing if this goes south on us with the change of administration in November. I believe if that happens, I think all the bets are off in terms of how this is going to come out. And so I think it's a good strategy on the part of the northern counties, or those counties which have large grazing economies. I certainly think it's appropriate for Humboldt County to be in this. The MOU that's in front of us today that we're going to consider is boilerplate. It's standard MOU language. I don't see that we need a whole lot different than that at this stage. But Ron, I guess to come back to circle back around on it, I think your concern is a good one, and I think it's important that the county follow through with this request for cooperating agency status. I can tell you that from my standpoint, from PLNR, I will be involved in it as this thing gets some momentum on it. But I do believe that we need to engage RCI to consolidate our comments and to remain on point for us with regard to the strategy as this thing moves forward. I just think this is going to be a pretty convoluted process. There's going to be a lot of moving parts in it, and there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be looking at some significant changes, which some of them aren't going to be in the best interest of the livestock operations in northern Nevada. So I would just say that I'll just state for the record right now, we probably need to look down the road at additional assistance with RCI as this thing gets some momentum under it. At any rate, I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good idea, and I think it's very timely, in as much as that I think this thing is going to kick off right around the 14th or 15th of this month. So.
Well said. I guess I would just throw this out there. I know we had Andy Reaver work on our grazing natural resource plan for our land to include in our land use plan, but I think she also should be, one of those considerations as someone who could work for us on this and do a good job.
Well, I would hope that Andy would probably take the lead with developing these guidelines, because she understands the background and the history that has put the BLM in this position. So I think she would really want to do a bang up job in representing us. But I think this is a big enough deal. I think it's all hands on deck at this point, and I'm just thinking about the worst case scenario out there on the ground. I want to make sure that our representation is more than adequate to meet that challenge.
Yeah, I've seen these EISs seem pretty benign and something that nothing to worry about, and really go the other way. So we do need to be there at the table so we know what's happening.
Yeah, there are going to be at least three ranges. There's going to be three alternatives offered, and there'll be a wide range in those alternatives, from no grazing at all to probably some pretty pretty interesting guidelines that we could propose for grazing in the future, depending on what our long-term goals are, and trying to get around a lot of the rigid sideboards that have been in place in that manual, and actually give more flexibility to operators out there on the ground that might have varying goals and objectives in terms of what they want that land to look like down the road. And I think this is going to open the door for us to be able to put that flexibility into it. So I think we ought to be looking along those lines. But I agree, Ron, we definitely need Andy involved in this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the question for you, your idea would be to if we approve this, would be to have Andy write the MOU and get started on it, and then RCI would be there to monitor it as it progresses forward and keep us on point on what is happening. Is that correct?
Ken, this is Jim French again. The MOU that is in front of us today, I think is okay. I think we probably just, I'm in favor of approving it so that we can get forward with the cooperating agency status. As this thing kicks off, as we start to, we're going to get a set of scoping meetings coming up right around the 15th. We'll get a little better idea as to how they're going to take a bite out of this thing and how they're going to approach the changes that are going to be proposed. As we do that, we're going to have to come up with a strategy and prioritize our input as we go. And I think that's going to require folks like Ron and myself and probably Varlin Higbee from the Public Land Steering Committee to sit down with people like Andy and with Jeremy and split up this responsibility, because if they go at this the way they're talking about going at it, they're going to throw a whole bunch at us in a hurry, and it's not going to be the same kind of process that we had, for instance, with Western Lithium, where we had a year to work through this. This is going to come at us in the form of proposals very, very quickly, and I think we're going to need to be able to handle it. We're going to need a lot of folks, a lot of hands on deck in order to handle this adequately. And so I guess I'm saying, Ken, is that we're going to need to have both, and we're going to need to split those both off. But as far as the philosophical, no, that's not the right word. As far as the approach on this, initial approach, as it is authorized through FLTMA and through NEPA, needs to have a real firm review in terms of what is authorized under the law, what is legal in terms of the recommendations that are made for and against livestock grazing, and to make sure that we aren't seeing alternatives offered that are, not really consistent with NEPA. And we have seen that in the past. I saw it with the sage grouse. I saw it with Planning 2.0. I saw it with Waters of the U.S. They're not above that. And so I make that is where Andy needs to be involved in it. She needs to look at it from that 30,000 foot view to make sure that the recommendations are consistent with the law. And I think that's where I would like to start with her right now. And then as this thing we start developing a range of alternatives. I would like to have RCI involved in making sure, and Jake Tibbetts, to be honest with you, to make sure that range of alternatives is something that the livestock industry can live with, and possibly give us some flexibility in those operations that we've been looking for some time.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from you, Commissioner Bell?
No, I think that Commissioner French's point is spot on this, and I think that we definitely need to sign on to this and just move forward with it. So I'm good there.
How about you, Commissioner President?
Yeah, I feel the same way. Ron and Jim have this all figured out, and yeah, even though yesterday may not be comparable, it's always good to be at the table. And I think it was really important that we were at the table for the Lithium Nevada. So yes, we need to do it.
Okay, I too think this is a very important aspect. I think it's one of our major industries in our county, and I think we need to stay on top of it to make sure that we can get the best outcome possible. So at this point, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we Let's see. Enter into a memorandum of understanding between the Bureau of Land Management, Humboldt County, a subsidiary of the state of Nevada, to participate as cooperating agency as part of the BLM's preparation of a environmental impact statement evaluating amendments to the federal livestock grazing regulations.
Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola,
Yes.
to Commissioner French. Could you also add that you want to approve including Andy Reber and RCI or Jeremy Drew specifically to also represent the county as part of our cooperating agency status?
I would amend my motion to
Well-
include Andy
Hold
Reber.
on. Hey, hang on. Sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's not mentioned anywhere on the agenda, RCI or Andy Reber. It's literally just consideration of a cooperating agency status about a memo of understanding. So if that needs to happen, then we would need to agendize it and put it at a later meeting.
Okay.
Excuse me, Wendy,
Yes.
before we vote on this, I really don't think we need to have that agendized. I would think that the county manager can ask them, but since they are both on, we
Retainer.
have both of them hired on a retainer, I think that's all that would take with the county manager to ask them to serve on that. Is that not correct?
It may, and I'm not sure if they're going to come back. That may be possible. So we'll have to look into that. We'll see if they come back and need to amend any kind of retainer or anything to broaden their services.
Well, the only thing I can see, Wendy, I appreciate your comment on that, and I'll stand down on it. But I think the only thing we may have to look at on an agendized item is possibly modifying the contracts in the not to exceed amount, because I think this is probably going to go on 6 months or so. So we'll probably need to do that, but that's something that Dave can look at, and if it looks like he needs to modify those contracts, he can bring them back in front of us.
Sounds good.
I just to add to that, I think their first cooperating agency meeting is going to happen here pretty quickly, like on the 14th,
Yeah.
17th, something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we need to, I don't know if whoever we choose should be on that call. Maybe they can't. Maybe it would just have to be a commissioner or something like that. But
Yeah.
Well, to be honest with you, Ron, to be honest with you, I think both of those contractors need to be on the kickoff meeting, because they're going to get a feeling then from how this thing is going to be organized. And regardless of how we engage the two of them, they need to understand how this thing's going to kick off. So
Yeah.
I think both of them should be involved in it.
yeah,
Okay, so Dave, if you would look at the contracts that we have in them and what monies we have budgeted for their retainer, and if we need to, we'll call another special meeting before the 14th. You get right on that. We could do it that way.
You bet. You bet.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Are there any questions on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Public comment. Any more public comment? There is. Just *6 and unmute yourself. And identify yourself for the public record. Public comment. No public comment. We'll go to adjournment at 9:19 a.m.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks.
everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Bye.
Dave, can you stop the recording, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.